pulled the shirt on, scored the goals. Andy Campbell on the Red.
This is the Red.
Hello, matey. Once again, we meet. It seems to be every Thursday we do this. I don't know what's going on.
Same time, same place.
Yeah, it is. Same channel.
Quite scary.
He's getting into the media side of it, isn't he? He's going to be there. He's all over it like a rat. So, mate, the Boro coming off the back of Leeds.
Yeah.
How are you looking ahead to going into the weekend without a team? I mean, we just don't have enough. Have you got your boots, Andy? You play fullback?
I finished as a left back, so I think my chances might be quite high. I've been doing a bit of fitness this week, so phone's on. My phone's on.
I've been waiting for mine to ring. I don't know why it hasn't.
I've been waiting for the last 7 years, and it still hasn't, so I won't hold my breath.
Yeah, same here. So what's the way? First and foremost, before we dig deep into the action from last weekend, this weekend coming up as well. What's your week been like? What have you been up to? Getting soaked? Watching?
Yeah, just been watching my daughter play football just now. I think she had a little five-a-side game against the Ducks. It was that wet, ridiculous, but no, nice. Kids football is that's brilliant. I'm absolutely blessed to watch my daughters play football.
Yeah. I was going to ask you where you stand on things like bad weather, cold temperatures. Should the kids be playing? I think they need to get used to it. You know what I mean? I do think certain things should be summer leagued, personally, but I think it's good for them as long as they're happy and as long as it's not too cold. It was very wet tonight, but I think we're all equality and diversity through and through now. So if boys are okay to play in the rain, then girls are too. All right then. Okay. Well, we used to have to referee in those conditions,
exactly.
Mate, but there you go.
Exactly.
So let's. Actually, before we jump in, if you want to be part of the show, you can tonight. A couple of ways you can get in touch, because we're live on the Red across Teesside on DAB radio, smart speakers. What you got to do is you've got to go to Alexa and you've got to say to Alexa, enable skill. And then she'll come back and she'll go, what skill would you like me to enable? That was my very poor impression of Alexa. And then you go, Alexa, enable the Red radio. And then she'll do the business. And after that, you just play the Red radio. Now, every Alexa on Teesside's just gone into overdrive, so sorry about that. So you can listen to us on smart speakers. We are on the Google one, but hardly anybody uses it these days. We're on apps, and we're online as well via the website, thereduk.com. That's thereduk.com. So you can do it via that. You can do it via Facebook Live. We're live on Facebook Live. We're live on YouTube as well. We get about a bit.
We do.
So, matey, and if you want to WhatsApp the studio, 0330 043 2002. Messages on the platforms, or you can WhatsApp the studio, 0330 043 2002. And as we've done over the last couple of weeks, you want to put a call in, you want to talk to Andy, you want to come on air, you can. Again, use your WhatsApp, but call it rather than say, well, actually, first and foremost, send us a message and say, ow, chore, I'd like to get on with a call, and then we'll sort that out for you and we'll call you back. Right, mate, so let's dive in head first. Leeds United. What did you make of it?
Listen, it was always going to be a hard game. We spoke last week about, I think sometimes a heart rule in your head, and understanding the importance of the game. First and foremost, it's a Premier League fixture.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The size of the occasion, the expectation of the crowds, home and away. The players on show, the subs benches, the managers, you know what I mean, everything about it is a top fixture. But a frustration for me is we talked at the early part of the season, Dave, didn't we, about losing that first goal. And so many times this season especially now, we get that first goal.
Yeah.
And when we get that first goal, the most important time in the next 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes is to shut up shop.
Yeah.
And when you're playing against top sides like Leeds, they have reaction. And I looked at Leeds during the week. They played Swansea. They went 1-0 down after 3 minutes, and then they were 2-1 up after 7. And they did exactly the same to us. And if you don't learn those lessons very quickly, you're going to get stung and you're going to get burnt really, really badly. And I think we're getting punished by individual errors, which happened. The penalty for me wasn't good enough. Overplaying when we don't need to, from the goalkeeper. And you know what I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of people since Saturday that people blaming the goalkeeper.
And we do love Paddy McNair, but he didn't seem to jump very high, did he, for those challenges?
No, he didn't. Yeah. But I think we've been so blessed with Stefan last season, who was very comfortable in playing out from the back, and now we've got a different goalkeeper and who's got different abilities. He's got different qualities, and now we're asking for him to do a different job. Maybe he's one that he's not as comfortable as other goalkeepers maybe might be, and I think that was very evident at the weekend. And listen, it's a game that we huffed and puffed. We give it a good go. We scored 2 good goals. We should have scored more, but saying that, so should they. and we give it a go against the top side who will be in and around the top two, if not challenging for definitely the playoffs. So we know we can mix it. It's a frustration that I look at the Bristol City game 3-2. We were there. We had the point.
Brought that one back to 2-2. Yeah, flying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Leeds, we were 1-0 up. 2-1 down, 3-1 down, get back to 3-2, miss some good chances, hit the post. You know what I mean? We had some real opportunities to make sure we get another point, and points on the board aren't good enough throughout the season. You know what I mean? But at this time of the year, in those pivotal games when you are losing, they're massive. You know what I mean? Because if those 2 points would put us 1 point outside the playoffs. And I know we were speaking downstairs with Rob, and can we afford to lose many more games this season? That's my concern. My concern is how many more can we lose, and I'd love to throw that out to every Boro fan out there. How many games can we afford to lose before we start accepting that playoffs is going to be out of our reach? You know what I mean? And I'm saying that when we're 3 points outside the playoffs. I'm not being negative. I just don't want us to think that to go into games thinking we have to win this now. It's, you know what I mean? It's a must win. You know what I mean? We're at Christmas time, and we've lost a hell of a amount of football matches.
We've lost 8 out of 19. Now, there are teams above us who've lost more, but they don't draw. No. They either win or lose. Yeah. And that 3 points for a win is crucial in that way. So we've lost 8 out of 19 so far. So we're getting towards the halfway point. Christmas, New Year's just round the corner. So that's a question for the fans then. How many more can we afford to lose without ruling ourselves out of the playoffs? The number is 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002 if you want to WhatsApp the studio, or you can send us messages via Facebook Live. We're also on YouTube tonight. So, I mean, what is it in your mind? I mean, how many more can we afford to lose? Because the bizarre thing is, we're 3 points away from the playoffs.
Yeah, I know.
Yet, where do we sit at the moment? In 12th spot. But it's so tight.
It is. I think
Bristol City in 14th. Yeah, they're only 2 points behind us.
And that's madness. I think for me 5 max. But it also depends who you lose those games against. I think that's crucial as well. Because
and I think losing to Leeds wasn't as bad as it could have been.
No, totally.
We'd lost to West Brom, a Hull, or somebody who's right around us.
When you lose to Bristol City, that's the issue. When the team's in and around you, we play Hull City in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
If we lose to them, the gap increases. We don't make the gap smaller on other teams, and we need to make sure, and I know that's not possible, but we need to make sure that we pick the points up in the right games. And we talk about 6 pointers, and 6 pointers are normally and notoriously games where you want to stay up and not get relegated. But 6 points if you want to get the playoffs. 6 pointers are the games that you're against the sides in and around you. You know what I mean? We've beaten Leicester and then we go and lose to Bristol City.
I know.
You know, that's the frustration, I think. And I think every Boro fans are saying we had such a bad start, and if we'd have picked up a couple of points, the odd win here and there, we'd be in such a positive position right now, and we could afford to lose 3, 4, 5, 7 games for the rest of the season and be really comfortable. And
it's the goal difference as well when you've got those battles with people around you, because win the game 2-0, it's given it a 4-goal swing in the goal difference between you and that team who's sitting near you as well. So we got Ipswich coming up. We'll go on to that. We'll move on to that one shortly. But you know, as well as Ipswich, we've got the likes of West Brom to play. They're in and around us. We've got the likes of we've already mentioned Hull City. They're around us. So you know, we're in that run of games now where you really can't afford to drop points. I mean, okay, Leeds, we could. Yeah. We aren't looking at the top 2 places this year. Yeah. You know, anybody who comes on here and tells us we can get automatic promotion, I'll be signing. I was going to say I'll be signing up for St Luke's, but whatever it's called these days, because top 2 are out of it. Yeah, we could go on an amazing run, an Arsenal-esque run from Arsene Wenger's era, but we're not going to do that. So the question's out there. How many games do you think we can afford to lose? Just looking at that Leeds game, I mean, you've touched on we go 1-0 up and then almost immediately, we're 2-1 down. Yeah. What could we have done different at that point? I mean, you're just 3 minutes into the game. Yeah. You've got to go to Van. You can't shut up shop with 87 to go.
No, it's a concentration levels, you know, and I think it's that chicken and egg situation, you know, that you don't want to go gung-ho and leave yourself wide open. You know, I mean, you're playing against a good side. The most we spoke on last Thursday about silencing the crowd.
Yeah.
It's the first 10 minutes you silence the crowd, you know what I mean? And because we started really well, I think we've scored too early. And I know that people think, how can you score too early in a football game? You score with 3 minutes into the game, you've got 87 to hold out. Well, nowadays it's probably 95 to 100 minutes left. And it's a long time to hold on. And when you've got 10 players later on in the game, and when you're 3-1 down and you're chasing the game, and there's so many there's so many negatives in terms of when you're letting goals in, and we can't afford to be. We're too good to chase games, even against top sides. We're too good. Like the last 5 games, Dave, 3 goals against Plymouth, 3 goals against Bristol City, 3 goals against Leeds. Leeds I'll probably take because of a very good side. They've got Premier League players throughout. Yeah. They've got good centre forwards. They've got an abundance of talent on the pitch and on the bench. Bristol City, 3 goals should have been avoided. Plymouth, 3 goals potentially should have been avoided. You know what I mean? How many points could we and should we have picked up in those 5 games than the points that we've already picked up? And because Leeds game should have been the same as the Leicester game. It's a free game. It's a free hit.
Yep.
But these games are running out from being free hits now that we need to start picking points up and earning the right to get up that table.
And those good. You've highlighted the big goal scoring. But I'm just looking at the record over the last handful of games. Exeter put 2 past us in the AFL Cup. Yeah, we scored 3 and we got past them, which is great. Stoke City put a couple past us at the Riverside.
Yeah, Norwich scored.
Norwich scored against us. People are scoring against us, but we knew that was going to be the Boro this season because that was the Boro last season.
Yep, but we scored more than the other teams.
But we had the firepower to pull ourselves out of it. A little bit more tricky this season. So at the point of, at what point in that game against Leeds did you think it was all over? Was it at 3-1 or?
I think even when we got that second goal before half time, I think it was probably a good thing for Leeds because I think they got regrouped at half time and they changed their tactics a little bit. They weren't as expansive. I think, especially when Dyke's got sent off, it gave them an opportunity to keep the ball, to kill the game a little bit, to kill the tempo. They're at home. They're in control, and yes, we still had a couple of chances to get back in the game, and probably should have got back in the game, but they also missed chances. And I think probably the result in the end was probably the correct result. I think they probably deserved to beat us, but. You know what I mean? We give it a good go. We give it a right go. We turned up and give them a scare. But for me, we need to make sure that we turn up against Ipswich, trying to get a result because they'll be a good side. You've got Hull, then you've got Swansea, and then you've got, I don't know if it's a free one in the cup now because you want to go as far as possible, but we've got Aston Villa coming up after Christmas as well, which is a fantastic opportunity for the club. I know it's just been announced from BBC as the live game at 5. So that's fantastic for the area. Game, fantastic for the area. Fantastic bit of publicity for the football club as well. So there's good things happening. We just need to make sure that we're in and around there. I think that's my concern if we're not after Christmas. Just
to finish the Leeds one off, how far adrift were we from Leeds? Because it did finish 3-2. Yeah. We did hit the post in the last 10 minutes. Had that gone in 3-3, you don't know what Leeds or how Leeds would have reacted. Did you see a world of difference between the two clubs?
Clubs, no. Scoreline, no. I think probably player for player, yes, in terms of some of the changes that they made substitute-wise. I did squad-wise, yes. Some of the players that they've got in their squad who weren't injured but weren't involved. Some of the young players that they've got, Gray especially, I thought was outstanding. And the Gray name in the Leeds history is just outstanding. You know what I mean? So I know he's part of that family. And if I can, that as a heritage to continue in, then fantastic for them. But they've just got a good mix. You know what I mean? They've brought in some really good players in really good areas. When you've got players like Patrick Bamford on the bench, when you've got players like is it Gonto on the bench he lit up the Premier League last year, and he's an international footballer. When you've got those options off the bench, you're not doing too badly, you know what I mean? And I think that's what we miss really. We miss the options who can really change a game. We miss the strength in depth, that we're bringing on players who are so far off match fitness. As in Matt Clark, I think he was a little bit far off the pace, and obviously impacted on the penalty, and not having the options, and now with the injuries and the suspensions, and not having a defence by the looks of it, coming up against a very good side, it's a little bit concerning.
Got to ask the question about Patrick Bamford's haircut, mate. What do you think about Bamford's haircut?
Terrible. However, and this isn't a jealousy thing, by the way.
He'll never go missing, will he? Defenders will always spot him.
I'm not having hair envy with that, but he has got a decent head of hair on him.
Shocking.
Just not the right style and colour.
Not the right colour. If you'd like to put a call through to Andy and have a chat with him, give him your views. Answer the question: how many games can we actually afford now to lose and still make the playoffs? All you got to do is WhatsApp us. Send us a WhatsApp message: 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. Send us the message, and just say, "I want to have a chat," or give us your comments. And if you want to have a chat, we'll give you a call back. Some comments coming in on social media, thick and fast. Very good evening, everyone. Watching, that's from Ian. Stu Golly, evening, everyone. We always seem to end up on the wrong side of a game like that. You've played for a couple of clubs, mate.
Yeah.
You know, as a Boro fan, I agree with Stu. You sit there and you think, only the Boro.
Yeah.
Is it a regular thing for all other clubs as well to finish on the losing end of a 3-2er, or is it a Boro thing?
I think you remember them because you're really close, you know what I mean? And I think it always hurts because it's teams like Leeds, and it always seems to be the bogey teams and always the teams that you want to beat. We get a little bit closer than normal, but we're still a little bit too far away in terms of results and league placings. But no, it happens all the time. I do think it evens itself out, you know. But if it is a Middlesbrough thing, and if it is a mentality thing, we need to make sure that if we get level at 2-2 or we get back in the game, we just kill the game. We see the game out, and that's an experience thing. That's a player thing, by the way. That's not a tactic on the sideline by a manager, because players are playing the game. If they get back into the game, they see the game out. You know what I mean? You grab people in, and you make sure that you cover areas, and you do a job which you don't like to do, but you do it for the team. You know what I mean? You might not play the game that you want to play, but I tell you what, it's so effective and it gets the results. But first and foremost, you need to get back in the game, and it's fine margins. Hitting the post, that going in the net, fine margins again. But listen, Lathi scores 2 goals. You know what I mean? Comes in and he's done really well since he started. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, let's look at the positives as well.
Misses 2, but scores 2.
Yeah, since he's come in and he started, he's really showing his worth and showing his form. And Josh must be sat on the bench thinking, A, what did I do wrong to be pulled out? B, when am I going to get another chance to get back in? Because, you know what I mean, whilst goals are like buses sometimes, when you get one, a million come along, and hopefully it continues, because he's obviously a very talented footballer. And I think that goal against Cardiff City, when he came on and he burst through, showed his pace, showed his composure, since then he's not really looked back. Yeah. So from a fan perspective, it's just you remember them because it was a goal. It was a goal fest. Yeah, because it hurts,
and you lost out by a single goal.
Listen, every Boro fan remembers the big results. You know what I mean? The Man City when we beat them at the Riverside 7-1. You know what I mean? You remember those because you blow them away. You don't really remember a game where you win 3-2 at home or even away. You know what I mean? Because you remember the big games that you win by big results. But when you lose the close ones, you just seem to remember a little bit more because it hurt more. Because if you get beat by the better side and you get beat 3-4, 5-0. You've been beaten by a good side and you've not turned up. But when you get beat 3-2, it's could we have done more? You know what I mean? What fine margins? Was it a mistake, penalty? Was it a hit the post, fine margins? You know, we just need to sometimes make sure that we turn chances into goals, and we try and not ship in as many, like 9 and 5 is a big return really against us, and we need to make sure that doesn't continue.
Plenty of comments winging their way in. We've got some coming in from YouTube. Got them. We'll be jumping onto that one shortly. Let's rattle through a couple on Facebook Live. And all you got to do is, you're watching us on Facebook Live, comment on Facebook Live. Ian, he's the Darlow fan, resident Darlow fan who joins us every week. He just wants to thank Middlesbrough for letting Darlington use their facilities last weekend with Darlow's game being cancelled. Very much appreciated by the fans.
It's fantastic. I'm glad they appreciate it.
Yeah. Maddie's with us. Should be very proud with the injuries we have to go up against Leeds and Leicester. Proud of the lads. We'll come out good. And it's just skipped on. And I've lost it. Proud of the lads. We will come good if we can get the boys back. We can only go with what we have, with 10 major injuries. And I do mean major. Playoffs will depend on whether we get them back. And maybe a big January transfer window. What about the injuries? Going into this game against Ipswich, there are 10 decent first teamers out. Injuries and suspension, it's got to be said. How much of an impact can that have on the team?
Oh, massive! It's a massive impact, and it has plays mind games with players, because obviously players won't have played for a while. I'm going to Matt Clark again. That he potentially was going to have to start at the weekend. You know what I mean? He's going to have to probably get through 90 minutes and grit his teeth, and he wants to play, so he's going to have to play. You know what I mean? We haven't got the. Would you normally bring somebody like that who's had that length of time out of the game? You'd bring him in gradually, wouldn't you? I think ideally, yes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think probably some behind closed doors games, some fitness work, bringing him on now again to see games out. You know what I mean? But sometimes needs must, and I think this is that time, and the needs must. And I agree with Matty that you can only go with what you've got. Ipswich are going to come to us at the weekend, and they're probably going to fancy their chances, but that'll be Middlesbrough all over. To be depleted, 10 players in the treatment room, but turn up a proper performance against a proper side who are going to play the right way with a very good coach, very good manager. who are doing really well, scoring goals, but they're also letting goals in. So I do fancy a bit of a goal fest. So let's see how it handles itself out and which way it's going to go.
Not another goal fest. I've got no nails left. Stu Gawley says 5 more games. He's answering your question. How many more? Many more games can we afford to lose, in reason, before we eliminate ourselves from the end of season playoffs? So Stu reckons 5 games. Lee Fisher, evening lads. Evening Lee.
Hey, Lee.
Matty's thrown them at me. I mean, thick and proud here. Barlaser needs to put it in the channel. We concede from our own box under no pressure. Yes, we play that way, but sometimes, I do mean sometimes, a ball into the channel to turn the opposition and get us up the pitch is a must. But then you got the second goal. You see, obviously we're looking at Leeds here. Then you got the second goal. We were calm at the back 5 or 6 times. We get up the pitch. It's disappeared again as the messages come in. This is awful. Where are we? 5 or 6 times. We get at the pitch for a corner and score. It's catch-22 for me, but the lads need to be cleverer at the back sometimes. So I think what he's saying is it's all right to play the ball out of the back as we do, as Carrick is insisting the players do, and he's said he'll take the rap for it if there are errors and we concede goals from it. But I think what Matty's trying to say there are times when he should just bang it into the channels.
It's a difficult one, Matty, isn't it? Because I think Michael's got his philosophy and his way of playing, and we all know at whatever level of football that we've coached or managed or played, that when you've got a philosophy, you want to try and stick to it, and be quite strict and stringent with it.
Yeah.
Michael seems very, I wouldn't say stubborn, he's just very strict in terms of the way that he wants the boys to play, and I think he plays Barlaser in that role in the midfield to get us passing the ball out. And I agree, listen, it's the kind of ball that I would have loved as a player.
Yeah. I
love running the channels. I love that. I used to make that run notoriously week in, week out, minute after minute if I could, because that was the kind of player that I was. And I just think we don't play that way. You know what I mean? I do think it's an escape ball. It's a fantastic ball in my opinion, but we just don't seem to play that way. And for whatever reason, we had one way of playing. And he's been quite strict with the defeats at the start of the season, and he's been quite strict now that we're picking results up. All at the minute, a bit hit and miss, but he's quite strict with the way that he wants to play in his philosophy.
Well, we're currently talking results and we're talking injuries and missing players. Zach sent us a WhatsApp. Thanks, Zach. It says, "Do you believe all the injury and suspensions could actually affect our chance of getting into the playoffs? We're not just talking about the next game or the next couple of games." Zach's concerned that the amount of injuries and suspensions we've got, will it have a long-term impact? Could it cost us our place in the playoffs?
Well, I think that's my girlfriend's son. So evening, Zach. I personally think it will. I think unless we bring in new players in the window, I think it'll have a huge impact. I think the injuries are long term. I look at the likes of O'Brien, especially. You know what I mean? I thought he was really starting to turn the screws. He was probably a missing link that we needed in those kind of areas. He could play midfield, he could play fullback. He could really help us out, because at the time we weren't defending particularly well. And it's no coincidence now that we've got more injuries and we're letting more goals in. You know what I mean? Because the strength and depth in those areas isn't strong, and the players who are coming back in, Coulson's found his way back in the squad. He hasn't played for a long time, and I'm not saying these players aren't good enough, but are they ready for the levels that we're talking about? Are the levels too high for them? Leeds United, Ipswich, Hull City, Swansea, Aston Villa. You know that these are the games that every footballer wants to play in, but are the levels too high for them? And the goals that we're letting in, the injuries and suspensions that we're picking up, can they be avoided? I think the serious injuries, obviously they can't be. If the cold weather's coming, you notoriously pick up more injuries in those kind of weather. You know what I mean? There's more training happening because you're trying to get players ready. You know what I mean? We'll have more games, so there'll be less training but more games. The suspensions for me are the silly ones. You know what I mean? That can 100% be avoided. You know what I mean? 2 yellow cards are silly. Straight reds. You know what I mean? We need to make sure that we avoid as much as we possibly can, because it's going to have a huge impact. Yeah. We're talking about that magic number of games that we can't afford to lose. And Zach's question is brilliant, but we can't afford. For me, it's 5 games. I'm going for 5. I'm hoping that there's a change in the league in terms of something happens and everyone beats everybody, and the number can increase. But for me at the minute, if we keep having the injuries that we've got and we don't invest in the window, if that's a loan market or a full transfer, I think it'll have a huge impact in us getting in the playoffs.
Just to think you've got to go through more than half the season and you can't afford to lose more than 5 games. It's a bit of a frightening thought, isn't it? But there you go. Couple of more comments. Lee Fisher reckons Paddy Bamford should sue his hairdresser. Nice one.
I'm thinking about doing the same, Lee, to be fair. So.
And I think I've missed something here because Ian said City's score was 8-1, Andy.
Oh, was it 8?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What was that? I missed that one.
We talked about the games that you remember, don't you? And I said...
oh, yes.
It was obviously before Man City became a big club. 8-1.
I was there.
Even better.
8-1.
I was there.
Yeah, I missed that because I was just looking at some
I
of the
must have missed
messages.
the 8th goal.
Yeah, all right then. Okay. I remember doing... Who did we do? Was it Sheffield Wednesday? We did 8-0 as well. And there was a funny story because Sheffield United... this is going back a bit. This is sadly I was at that game as a young kid, I've got to say. But Sheffield United used to always put Wednesday's score by the side of the pitch with the old boards that they used to have. Didn't have electronic scoreboards then. And
teletext and CFAX.
when it got to 8-0, they didn't have an 8. Oh. They just didn't go that high, so they put 2 4s, one on top of the other. So that's how United. That's how Wednesday.
Dave, you remember games, don't you? Like certain games. I remember the game we played Arsenal at the Riverside, and we got. I think we got walloped that day. I mean, I think that was about 6-7 or 8-1.
Yeah.
When they had a real good side, Invincibles and Elka, Overmars, Bergkamp, etc. When I was at Cardiff, we beat Oldham 7-1 away. You know, and these are the games that fans always remember, players remember, because you blow them away. So, 8-1. Wow.
Not bad scoreline. It is Andy Campbell on the Reds and on Facebook Live and on YouTube. You can get your comments through. If you want to WhatsApp the studio, you can. 0330 043 2002. If you actually come on the show and talk, you can. WhatsApp that number, 0330 043 2002, and just tell us you want to come on and we'll give you a call back and put you through to Andy. Stu Campbell on YouTube.
Yes, we did.
Do you think that Mr. Gibson has taken us as far as he can? When he took over the club, being a millionaire, was good enough to build a team around us, but now you've got to be a billionaire to run a club. Is it time to sell?
He's trying to get me in trouble.
He is, isn't he? Isn't he?
You can look at this question in 2 different ways. Has he taken the club as far as he can in terms of his own personal ambition? No, he loves the area, he loves the club. You know what I mean? For me, he's the best chairman that the football's seen in terms of British investors, chairman, owners. Who's going to come and buy the club? Who's going to come and spend the money that we're talking about? The Saudis, you know what I mean? They've got Newcastle down the road. Unless Middlesbrough Football Club get back in the Premier League, it's not appetising enough for somebody, I don't believe. You know what I mean? Because why would they come here? Why wouldn't they go for Leeds United? Why wouldn't they go for a bigger club in the Championship? You know, we're a big club. But
it hurts to say, but you can see why PIF came in and bought Newcastle.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, because it was appetising, you know, and that Premier League, that holy grail, to get in the holy grail and to get in the Premier League. Look at Everton, have struggled for years, but now they've got the owner, now they've got the right owners in place. The football club can potentially kick on and start having a little bit of success. But every team who's doing well in the Premier League is backed by a serious investor. And even some of the ones who aren't doing very well are still backed by serious investors, so they come down, they're potentially going to go back up, which causes a problem for someone like Middlesbrough. You know that Steve's done a fantastic job. He's invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of heartache, a lot of tears along the way. And for me, I think, and long may it continue. It wouldn't be Middlesbrough Football Club if I'm seeing a different owner. For me, I think for me, I'm a Stevie Gibson fan, and I want him to stay.
And he's just converted 107 million quid's worth of debt to equity, just to tidy the books up.
Yeah, which is key, which is so important, isn't it? You know, and I think this football club.
Because let's make no mistake about it, the club loses money every year.
Oh, every month, every year. So you know, I mean, if it wasn't for someone like him, you know, would we be where we are now? You know, I mean, that's another picture. You know what I mean? That would we be in the Championship? Would we be fighting for playoffs season after season? Because we could have got a little bit of luck last year. We could have had Premier League football, and the club would have looked a lot more rosy than it is right now. It would have had the parachute payments if we'd got relegated. It would have had Premier League money regular coming in. It's just we need to try and get that little bit of fortune, a little bit of luck, tweak things in the right areas. Because listen, we're not a club now who goes and spends 10-12 million pound on a footballer. You know what I mean? Steve's done that.
Yeah.
Many a times. Some he's done really well in terms of backing. Some have failed miserably. But that's football.
Couple of comments coming in on Facebook Live, mate, before we move on to the weekend's game. Sam Morsey to get booked. Chaplin to score, but Boro to win 2-1.
I take all.
That's Lee Fisher's.
I take all, Emily.
Stick a tenner on it, Lee.
To be fair,
no, sorry, I can't possibly encourage you to be betting.
Sam Morsey, I think he's nailed on to get booked. I think he loves the tackle. I think him coming back.
Loves the tackle. He'll have his sleeves rolled up from minute one.
He will be well up for it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can be too up for games. So I'm sure he'll have his professional head on, but he won't want to lose a game of football coming back here.
Yeah. Ian's celebrating. The Dowler fan, wowzers. Dowler have signed a midfielder today. Well done. Leon, how many games can we lose? I think you can afford to lose more, but it all depends on winning more than drawing. So I think someone getting in the playoffs could lose about 9 games before it starts taking an impact.
I think the more we talk about it, I think we can afford to lose more games as long as we lose the right games.
Yeah.
You lose the games against the bottom 3, I don't think it has an impact. You lose the games against the top 2, doesn't really have an impact. You lose a game against a side who's in 6th place, 2-3 points ahead of you, it becomes 6 points. It's a big impact. We can't. It's the impact games we need to make sure that we win. We beat the teams in and around us. Hull City is a massive game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can only look at your next game. You can only beat who's in front of you. But for me, if we can get something against Ipswich, then you go into the whole game. You go into a Swansea game away from home, which will be a tough one anyway because they're down the bottom. They play good football. They have a philosophy and way of playing. You know what I mean? So
and new manager.
Yeah, it seems to happen to us. This
bit of a honeymoon, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, just looking at the games now, we've got Ipswich coming up at the weekend, then Hull City midweek, then Swansea away, then the game at Port Vale, which cracking game when you think about what's at stake.
Well, it's a. I'm not going to use the word free one. It's a game that we want to get to the semi-final. I looked at the draw the other day with a couple of lads, and we're going to get a Premier League side in the semi-final.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So we've been away from home in every round. So we would have had but for me the easiest draw all the way through, but also the hardest.
Because it's in your travels.
Everyone's been away, you know. So it can be good and bad. You know what I mean? Huddersfield, Bolton, Bradford, Port Vale, Exeter. You know, and then it could be West Ham, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle. Newcastle would be a good one.
That would be a good one.
Especially with the
we'll keep that for the final.
With the FA Cup draw they've had.
Yeah.
So, be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we have West Brom just to cap it off, and then we can enjoy our turkey at Christmas.
Yeah.
And get into what everybody then tells us is that that massively important run between Christmas and New Year. I think it's come early. We mentioned that last week. Yeah. We won't dig into that one again. No. Some good news coming out, by the way, just for the Red listener. This weekend we start our Matchday Live coverage. So 12 o'clock from the Six Meadows, near the Riverside. We'll be live broadcasting from there, the full build-up up to the game. And then we've got Mad Aussie Rye, who should be fast asleep by now, so I can call him what I actually probably be awake now, so I can still call him what I want. He'll be doing his watch along. So Matchday live from the Six Medals. If you happen to go in there, come and find us, have a chat live on the radio. If you don't happen to go in there and you fancy it, well, come on in, let's have some fun. Let's talk about what we expect the game to do. So that's Matchday Live on the Red, live this weekend ahead of the Boro game. 12 o'clock we'll be starting in the Six Medals. Let's go there then. We've touched on Ipswich a couple of times. How difficult, how tricky. I mean, we've just played Leeds. Yep. How tricky is Ipswich going to be?
Well, extremely, because I think I'm probably not just speaking for myself here. I'm speaking for everybody else. That I'm really surprised how well they're doing. I did expect them to fall off. They've hung in on Leicester City all the way.
I'm amazed that
they play some really, really attractive stuff. I really like the manager. You know what I mean? He seemed to have earned his stripes. He did really well. He got promoted. He hasn't. In my opinion, they're not full of big names. They're not full of top Championship Premier League footballers. But you know what? Every player seems to know the role. Every single player knows their responsibility. They've got a real interesting way of playing, and it'll be a little bit like a chess match. I think at the weekend. That will we change the way that we play like we did against Leicester, or will we continue and play our own game and hopefully that we get some chances created and we get some goals. But I just can't see them not scoring. I can't see us not scoring because they let goals in as well. I think they remind me a little bit of us last year, that they let 1 or 2 in, they'll go and score 3 and 4. That's just the way they play. They've got so much confidence that they don't seem flustered. When they go 1-0 behind, they'll go and score 2. When they're 2-0 up and they let a goal in, they'll go and get another one. You know what I mean? They just seem to score goals and seem to create chances. And Portman Road's one of those grounds that it's never a nice hunting ground. It's miles away. It's a camel ride to get to it. It's a horrible place to play, and no one seems to get any joy there. And Middlesbrough, I hated it as a player. Every club I went to was not a very nice player.
Thankfully that one's Thankfully, that one's a long way off. This one, obviously, at the Riverside, we've got home advantage. But again, we've got 10 players missing, and I think that's going to be crucial to that. So they've got a few missing themselves. They've got a couple. They've got a couple of suspensions kicking into key players, but they're not missing the size of the
numbers wise. I think that's where the squad comes in abundance. Really, it's important that we had the big squad we had at the start of the season, but now I think we're stretched a little bit. You looked at a couple of the young players who've been getting an opportunity on the bench. Would they have got an opportunity if we didn't have the amount of casualties that we've got? Potentially no, but it gives them an opportunity to showcase their talents. Hopefully we can pick a gem or two out of the matchday squads now, and people can fight for places. But Matty said it earlier, when those players start coming back, if that's in 2 weeks, that's Christmas, that's January, it'd be like a new signing. But we need them back ready. There's no point in coming back and knocking them back 6 weeks. We need them back ready, and the transfer window will be interesting. If we do invest, if we do, brilliant. If we don't, then the manager sees enough in the squad and the players coming back that we've got enough to get us where we need to be.
How worrying can it be from a player's perspective when you realise you are at squad bare bones?
It depends.
I mean, some players will love it because it gives them
a chance. You know what I mean? If you're not a regular starter and you've now started the last couple of games, or you're going to start on Saturday against a side who's second in the league, you're delighted because this is the opportunity that you've been waiting for. If you're a regular starter and you're seeing players who are coming in who aren't at the quality of others in their opinion, or who aren't fit enough in their opinion of where they need to be and the levels that they're at, then it's quite concerning, because you're wanting to excel, you're wanting to get to the Premier League, you're wanting to get that holy grail and get promoted, but you're only going to do that with the best players, and can we afford to go back-to-back defeats? I don't think we can. I don't think we can afford the confidence, going into a couple of tricky games over the rest of this month. For me, I think it's a game that we need to get a positive result from. Will we get it? I believe so, but it's going to be tough. We need everybody on the concentration. We need everybody on the optimal performance and playing from minute 1 to minute 95, the same levels as Leicester. But
with the crowd behind the Boro, despite the huge number of players that are not available, you still think we can get a positive result against Ipswich?
And I think you just said there, I think fans are going to play a key role at the weekend. You know what I mean? And I think notoriously Middlesbrough fans back the players anyway, but certainly back them when the chips are down, and at the minute chips are down with the amount of players that we're losing. So whoever is fit, whoever is walking wounded, whoever turns up and that 11 at the weekend or comes off the bench at the weekend, we back them. We back them all the way through, and hopefully they'll do us proud, because they always do. But hopefully they'll get the result and the performance that we all expect.
We'll come back onto the Ipswich game very shortly, but quick message from Ian. Dave, did you go to the Darlington-Middlesbrough game at Feetham's in 1985, the Madness game, on and off the pitch? Yes, I did.
What a ground that was, though.
Feetham's?
Yeah.
The tin shed, no?
Yeah,
I like Feetham's.
I remember I was Darlington-Hartlepool in the playoff semi-final. It was unbelievable. I wanted to go to both, but I went to that one, and it was just, the atmosphere just blew me away. And that was me coming. I was a Middlesbrough.
Was that the one when Hodgie was in charge of Darlington? Yeah,
so I was a Middlesbrough player at the time, and you know what I mean, people were wondering what I was talking about in terms of atmosphere. I played at the Riverside, but then I'm going there in a small, relatively small ground, but the atmosphere was just amazing. You know, there's so much hatred, so much passion, but it was just so much fun as well. It was proper football, real football. Yeah,
it was football surroundings, because I remember when Hodgie took Darlington to Victoria Ground, as it was called then, and he ended up squaring up with some fan behind who threw something at him, and it just shows you the sort of the rivalry and the passion that we think it's there between Boro, Newcastle, Boro, Sunderland, Newcastle. It's there, but it's there between Darlow and Hartlepool. Absolutely.
Do you remember the ground? Anyone who's been there, who's watched a game there, walking back over the cricket pitch to go back to walk back. You know what I mean? There was only one way in, only one way out, because you couldn't get through the park at the back. So you know what I mean? If you're a home fan and away fan, you were in there. Yeah, you were in the mix.
You were indeed. Stu Golly says, I think we're going to do okay against the Tractor Boys. Up the something Borough. Got to be careful with that one, because we are on the radio, on the Red, across Teesside on DAB radio, and we do want to keep our licence. Got to ask you about up front, because Latte Lath's now been given a couple of games. He's been given a run. Scored a couple against Leeds, absolutely. Missed a few that everybody else would have said he should have scored. What's going on there? I mean, is it just... Did Michael think, I've given Josh a bit of a run, it's time now, he's not getting the goals, it's time to give Latte La a go? I mean, how do you read the situation there?
I think he gave him an opportunity. I think it was more of a rest than a tactic. I think he was. This is my opinion, by the way. I just think it was the right time to bring him out the firing line a little bit and give him a little bit of a rest. And I wouldn't say it's backfired, because I think it was a good decision, because the other centre forwards come in, Latter's come in, and he's done a really good job for the team. He scored goals. He looks a threat, which I think is really important. People always go on about the chances that centre forwards miss, and it's so frustrating as a centre forward, because when you're scoring goals, you're always going to miss one or two. You seem to miss the chances, which are the most important. You know that you score two, but the most important one was the one he missed. You know what I mean? That's just the life to being a centre forward, and the joys of being one. And but he'll learn. He potentially he'll get that opportunity again, and he'll put it away. But I think he's a threat. What he gives us a different attribute and a different way of playing. Matty was talking about putting the ball over the top. Latte can give you that, because he's got pace and power. He can run over the channels. He can run over the top. He's probably not as good holding the ball up in terms of what Josh gives you. In terms of fighting a defender, he's still got those attributes, but probably not as good as Josh. But it gives us a different way of playing. And when you're playing against different sides, it gives us that different option. If we want to go a little bit more physical, Josh will play. If we want to be a little bit, if there's slow defenders, we want to go a little bit more direct, I'd put a Lath in. You know what I mean? I'd love to play them both. I'd love to see them both. But Michael's strict with the way that he wants to play, with his formation, his philosophy, and that's just life. We get on with it. We move on, and we back whoever he picks, because none of them have let us down in terms of who's selected. So I think it's good competition for places. It keeps them both on the toes, and I think they're both very good in different ways of playing. And I think we've shown that we can suit the qualities of both with the way that we're doing it.
Yeah. Rob's sent a message. I don't know whether he's tongue-in-cheek here, but he says, great show, lads. Can you give a shout-out to a huge tractor boy, Luke? I think I know the story behind that. I might tell you when the microphones are switched off, mate. I think we're done and dusted. Let's get on to predictions. It's always that awkward one. Where do you think it's going to finish up Saturday?
I think we'll get a reaction. I know we've got a lot of injuries. I think people are probably expecting us to be a little bit doom and gloom, but people will be getting opportunities.
I expected that against Preston, mate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We were depleted then, and the performance levels were high. You know what I mean? Ipswich are coming all the way here. It's a long trip for them. They may not have as strong following because of the travel and potential weather. For me, we need a strict, strong opening to the game. You know what I mean? We can't afford to give chances and give goals away. If we're stubborn like we were against Leicester, we'll win the game. Yeah. But I do believe that both teams will score. So I'd love to say we're going to win, but I do think it'll be a score draw. I'm going to go 2-2. 2-2. Yeah. Still plenty of goals. You said that earlier. I'm a bit like I think we've got it within us to beat Ipswich. But they are flying, and they're coming here full of confidence. And the thing, Dave, we have to give respect, don't we, to teams, because listen, we've been there where we've had goals, we've had assists, we've got these good players in our squad, and teams give us that respect last year. Yeah. Now we've got to pay the same respect to other teams, but still be on the same levels and still be on the same pitch as them, and just see what we can get out of it. Yeah, and last week I squirmed. You know, I was giving it head because my head was telling us Leeds were going to beat us. My heart was saying, well, hang out for a draw. I think this time round I'm quite comfortable going for a 1-1 draw. Yeah. Can't see us winning. We're capable of it. Yeah. I really, for some reason, don't see us losing. So I'm pumping for a 1-1. I think I'm on the same. I'm on the same page, and I think it's really important. And we talk about how many defeats we can have. You know what I mean? These points, you churn these points up on the board. They turn it into big results. You know, because if we can get a point against Ipswich and you win your next game. You know what I mean? It's a real opportunity then to fill out the league. 4 points out of 2 games is a good return. You know what I mean? Especially for a side who's aiming for the playoffs. It is, and we can do it. I mean, we've got the players. Even with the injuries, we still got a good enough 11. You know what I mean? We might look thin on the bench. We are really thin on the bench. Yeah. Really, really thin in terms of squad. But the 11 what will be out at the weekend will be severely strong. Yeah. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed, mate. Thank you very much. I'll catch you next Thursday. We'll have a look back at the 3-0 Boro win against Ipswich, which bursts the Tractor Boys bubble and they start slipping down the table. And the clean sheet with no defenders. And keep your boots polished. You might just get that call. Phone's on. Indeed. Thanks, matey. Appreciate it.
Forget the Mackhams. Forget the Mags. Smoggies and Proud.
This is the